Hi, I'm Darren. These are my hands, and this is GrooTube, where we appreciate the art of Aragonés. Today, we are going to be looking very closely at these Groo the Wanderer miniatures from Dark Horse Miniatures. And I am going to be saying miniatures a lot. If you've been a fan of Groo the Wanderer for very long, you've probably encountered these little Groo the Wanderer figures. And if you haven't yet encountered them, you're in for a treat today. So these are the Dark Horse 25mm lead miniatures made by Dark Horse Miniatures in 1986. There was 5 packs of these miniatures, each with several sculpts inside. There's a total of 18 figures. Now, these minis are made for Dungeons & Dragons and other role-playing type games, but they're also made for collectors. They are lead, so don't spend too much time tasting them, and they are a paint-your-own type figure. The 5 packs were set number 1, Groo, Chakaal, Sage, Minstrel, and Rufferto. The second set included another Groo, Taranto, the Witch, and Arcadio. Set number 3 included Young Groo, Grooella, Sergio, and Grativo. Set number 4 was the Wenches Warriors set. And set number 5 was a huge multi-piece dragon. They are quite rare and quite collectible, so I am happy to be able to show some of them off to you today. It appears that there were 2 different print runs for these Groo minis. The first run was on red cards with the Dark Horse name and logo prominent and miniatures for the connoisseur tagline printed on them. There was generic Dark Horse text on the back of these cards. Subsequent print runs were on green cards with Sergio Aragonés' Groo the Wanderer and drawings of Groo, Chakaal, the Minstrel, the Sage, and the Sage's dog on it. The back card of the packs featured the Minstrel singing a poem, and of course that was written by Mark Evanier, and apparently he lettered it as well. They call him Groo the Wanderer, and sometimes naughty names, and you can use these figurines in any of your games. Just paint them up to suit yourself, these works of craftsmanship, by sculptor Ian Lungold and his partner Wolfgang Tripp. Collect the Minstrel and the Sage and others that you know, that came out of the mind and pen of Signor Sergio. The world of Groo and all his friends is easy to behold, for you can find our other sets where stuff like this is sold. Be careful when you play a game which figurine you choose. The person who selects the Groo is guaranteed to lose. Warning, this product contains lead, not suitable for children under 10 years. Poem and lettering, Mark Evanier. Now, I don't know how much these figures originally cost in 1986. I would guess maybe around $20 for a pack. I took a look on eBay, and an unopened set on a red card recently sold for $115 US. And also I saw the complete green card set, all 5 packs, sold for only $125 US. Individual minis, just loose, have been selling for $10, $15, $30. I vaguely remember seeing them in my local game store, and I have no clue why I didn't pick them up at the time. Alright, let's take a close look at these figures. First off, we have set number 1, number 701. For me, this is the most desirable set. We've got Groo standing with one arm akimbo, his other holding his katana, like he was guarding a bridge or something. The Sage looks pretty cool to me too. I like that he's got those wild eyes. It reminds me of the very early Sage drawings from Pacific Comics. And the Minstrel is super cool. For his loot, they included many different headstocks, so you could pick the one that you wanted. And in addition to having a custom paint job, you'd have like a custom loot head on your Minstrel. Unfortunately, the Minstrel that I've got here does not have any headstocks on his loot. And something else that I'm missing is the dog. Now, the Norwegian Groo website and other places on the internet includes a note that this is Rufferto, But there are two things that make me think that it's not Rufferto. First of all, he doesn't look like Rufferto. He looks like another dog. Second, these minis were for sale in 1986. And let's take a look here. Rufferto makes his debut in July of 1987. So I don't think that this could be Rufferto. And I want to be careful when I say it looks like mulch to me, because of course in 1986 we didn't know the name of the Sage's dog either. So let's just call this the Sage's unnamed dog. And of course, Chakaal. Set number 2, 702, is a pretty good looking set to me as well. I love the pose that Groo is in. His swords are out and he's running into the fray, kicking up dust at his feet. We've got a nice sculpt of Taranto. And unfortunately for me, I don't have Arcadio. On the card, this figure is titled The Witch. And of course, this is the Witch of Khan, and she has a few of her minions climbing around her. Now these are all really nice sculpts, but I'm sure you'll agree that they really come alive when they get painted. These Groos, in my opinion, look really good. You can really see a lot of the detail that sometimes is hard to see on just the unpainted lead figures. Set number 3, 703. I don't know, maybe they're starting to run out of characters to include here. We've got Young Groo, Grooella, Sergio, and Grativo. It's nice that they included Sergio, but I think maybe that is an indication that they were running out of ideas. Grooella sure is hefty, and I mean that literally. This is a heavy mini. And we've got Lil Groo too. Of course, he is called Young Groo on the card. I guess Lil Groo didn't become his official name until a few years later. And Grativo. Set number 4, 704, is the Wenches and Warriors set. This set has a couple of guards. I've just got the one here. And the wenches. Maybe this figure is supposed to be a wench, although to me she looks more like she belongs in someone's harem. And then this figure looks a little bit like a title maiden to me. Now I don't have set number 5 here, 705, the Cover Dragon, but this is a cool set. It includes multiple pieces that you can either solder or glue together to form a big dragon. He's called the Cover Dragon, and this is him on the cover of Groo number 2 from Epic Comics. Now I mentioned that maybe they were running out of ideas by the time they were doing sets 3 and 4, so who would I have suggested that they sculpt? Well, why not Captain Ahax? He's a very early character, and he became much beloved, but I suppose he wasn't featured nearly as much as someone like Taranto or even Grativo when they were doing this in 1986. But what about some Cantors? How about those Ape Warriors? Or what about some of those Lizard Man Warriors? Not only would they have been fun to have, but they'd certainly be playable as characters or NPCs in a game of Dungeons & Dragons. I mentioned that these figures look spectacular when they're painted well, so fellow Groo fan Brian Kojin has allowed me to show you some of his wonderful paint jobs on his collection of Groo the Wanderer minifigs from Dark Horse Miniatures. These really are brilliant paint jobs. Brian, I'm sure you're very proud of the work that you've done. Great examples of how well these minifigures can turn out. And what about knockoffs? It's unfortunate, but whether it's t-shirts, puzzles, or in this case miniatures, somebody's always there to test the limits and see what they can get away with. In this case, Raf Partha Figures has created Groan of the Spare Katana. And we can see here that someone has taken another one of the Raf Partha figures and painted it up to look like Rufferto. And while not technically a knockoff, more of a fan tribute for his own use, I'd like to show you another piece of Brian Coggin's work here, his self-sculpted Groo the Wanderer figure in the middle of his other Marvel figures. Well, Groo friends, it's been great to be able to share these miniatures with you today. There's lots of great photos of these miniatures on the internet, but I thought some folks who haven't had a chance to see these figures in person would appreciate seeing them moving around in real 3D space. If you like this video, I sure would appreciate you giving it a thumbs up, subscribe, and make sure that you've got notifications turned on. I will be back again soon, friends, with another GrooTube. And until then, take care. Copyright Aragonés, copyright Dark Horse. Taranto, I cannot remember if I am angry with you or not.
Oh, Groo, my friend, of course you're not angry with me.
I think I will slay you just to be sure. Slay, 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 slay.